All right, you guys all still here?
Yeah, I'm all
Yes.
set.
Awesome. All right. Well, I'll just mention a couple preliminary things, Wade, and then I'll turn it over to you.
Okay.
So again, welcome everybody to the July 2nd Park and Rec meeting. The meeting is being recorded live at this point, so it's on the YouTube Newtown Township channel. So just be aware of that, Peter.
Okay, I will. I
Yeah.
will.
I checked the public comment email account just a couple minutes ago, and there was no public comment for this meeting there. For the sake of the minutes, I'm just going to run through the roll of who's here. And now, actually, if Jonathan's not here, Wade, who is going to take minutes?
I'm going to try.
Okay. All right. So if everybody could just respond that they're here. Wade Pollock,
Here?
Peter Lake,
Here.
Bill Postic.
Here.
All right. And then Jonathan and Sonia are not. And then we do have Sheila and Sandra here. So Wade, I think it's all yours.
Okay, so the first item on the agenda was the new state guidelines for opening the parks under the current condition. I didn't read them. Can you go over them, George?
Sure. So let me pull them up real quick, and I can read what they are. Everybody can hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So in the green phase, talking about the playground, because remember the parks were open in the yellow phase, but they weren't, none of the playground equipment was, and the restrooms weren't, etc. Oh, it looks like Sonia's here. Let me let her in. Hi, Sonia.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
So we were just going over the current parks specs. So the playgrounds in the green phase, they're allowed to be open. We have signage indicating people are supposed to use social distancing. They should be using masks. They should be following all the hand washing or hand sanitizing procedures. There is signage up around as is required. We are disinfecting all the playgrounds once a day, and the signage up indicates that people should be responsible. If their children are going to be using it, they should consider additionally sanitizing it. But again, we're following what we need to. If you follow the CDC guidelines specifically, you should be out there every few hours disinfecting everything. And there's no way we can do that. So the signage indicates we're not following CDC guidelines in that regard. So again, you need to utilize your judgment when you're using these things. And that is what most municipalities are doing, because there's really no way to constantly keep everything disinfected. Similar with the basketball courts, similar with the outdoor restrooms. Again, both at Gable here and at Drexel Lodge, we sanitize every day, and we encourage people to bring wipes and to sanitize themselves as well. I guess, Wade, our biggest concern, we went to green on Friday. We got all of the playground equipment open. We got the restrooms open. We waited to get the basketball courts open until Monday. And the basketball court at Gable has been the biggest challenge, because people are not practicing social distancing. They're not wearing masks. And we're debating what the right thing to do is. I don't know if we want to make a recommendation to close it again. There is more signage around it. I mean, you can't walk a few feet without seeing what you should be doing. So the challenge is the state guidelines on basketball courts are pretty loose. You know, it gives a maximum number. It gives recommendations. They're following it, but they're not using masks, and they're not doing the social distancing when they're off the court. I don't know if Park and Rec has a recommendation on what we should do, or if we should, you know, continue to let people use their appropriate judgment.
Shut it down.
What,
it down.
what do you think, Bill?
Well, I mean, obviously the most safe thing would be to close it down.
Right.
However, they're going to find ways of playing anyway. So I think the best we can do is just let it be known that it's their responsibility to protect themselves and others. If there's something in the signage that really puts the onus on those people, then I think we're more likely to get a little of maybe better compliance than you're seeing now. You know, that it's your responsibility to protect yourself and others.
Yeah.
You know, teammates generally look after their teammates. And so it's possible that that could be helpful. So I think that's about the best we can do.
What is the age group, George, of the people that use the court?
I would say high school.
So, I mean, they don't have a whole lot of, adult common sense, I would say.
I'd
That would
say
be
they have no common sense,
Yeah,
adult
so
or childlike.
Yeah, I'm more apt to vote to close it myself, just because, I watch the news and, I watch the NBA and all the other sports that they don't even know what to do.
Right.
So I can't expect a teenager to be responsible enough. I don't know. That's my personal opinion.
Closing it would be.
I agree.
What's that,
What's
Bill?
that, Bill?
Closing it would be the safest.
I mean,
I
guess
think we have.
the only other option would be if we wanted to put more signage up saying we are going to close it if you don't follow these guidelines, and
Yeah.
give them, one last chance on it.
When do you pull the plug on the one last chance? I mean, are you going to monitor their behavior? Because
Well,
they're
I can
gonna
probably
still-
look out the window right now, and yep, I don't think they're following it right now.
yeah, there you go. I'd say shut it down, guys.
I agree. Shut it down.
Sonia,
They
are
don't-
you there?
they-
Yes, I would shut it down too. I'm just switching over to my.
Absolutely.
It's better.
I'm sorry.
Hey everyone. Hey everyone, it's Rich. I don't mean to interrupt, but Paul Seligson is in the waiting room. I'm gonna let him in right now.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, Rich. Yeah, I'm in agreement. I mean, hey, Paul.
Hi, how are you, George?
Good. So that would have been my first choice, would have been to go ahead and shut it down. As much as I hate to do that, but if they're not going to follow the guidelines, I don't want to have a situation where somebody could risk being infected there.
Right.
George, just put in your signage that you tried to provide the opportunity, but people didn't respect the need to socially distance, that the demographics is between 16 and 19 in Philadelphia with the highest level of COVID-19. And therefore you tried, but you had to, at this time has to be closed until people can, put that in your signage as well, that you did try, but people continue to disrespect your rules.
I think that's very fair.
That's smart, Sheila.
Because you tried and they didn't comply, and you're not trying to be difficult. You're just saying, we gave you the opportunity. We really are caring for your health. And that's the most important thing.
Yeah. It's more important than playing basketball.
You have to remember also, these kids go home to a family, and that family could even contain some high-risk people. So
Yeah.
it's not just the kids on the court.
Yeah.
Right.
So thank you all for that.
Okay.
You're welcome, George. Thank you, George.
Hey everybody,
and
I don't mean to interrupt again, but Jonathan is in the
Oh,
waiting
great.
room, and I'm letting him in as well.
That's great. And Rich, whenever you want to jump out, I appreciate the time you put in.
All right, you got it.
Hey, Jonathan.
Looks like he's connecting in,
Okay.
and he should be in. Hey, Jonathan.
Hey,
Hey, Jonathan.
hello.
Jonathan, so we just discussed the basketball court at Gable Park and
Okay.
opening it. It's been opened, and the people that are using it aren't following the guidelines. So we've kind of decided maybe to close it.
Yeah, no, we decided definitely to close it, and we ought to
Okay.
close Newbie also.
Right, right.
Oh, yes,
Well, it's either all or none.
yes,
Close them all.
okay.
Yep.
All right, so the concert, we're going to keep a date open, but that's really looking like it's not a possibility. And then we had yoga in the park. Sheila, if you want to discuss yoga in the park.
Guys, Yoga in the Park has been a great success. We've fully complied with all of the necessary CDC guidelines and social distancing. Everyone that's come has brought their mask, their own water bottle, their own mat. So it's been wonderful. Every week is great. Next week is Zoom Beanie, which is a family event. So we will be mindful to make sure that everyone respects social distances. We have circles and they're 21 feet apart, so everything is going well. If you can, just help spread the word. Kathy's been great with sharing it on social media. So is Leonard, and I've been sharing it to all the community groups. If you see my post, if you can please share them with your own friends and any other groups that you can. We have class every Thursday from now till August 27th, and it's a variety of class, but it's really been well received and very appreciative from the community. They like the fact that we've, tried to still provide them an outlet in a safe and productive way.
Sheila, thanks for taking lead on that one. I've seen it, and I think it's great.
Yeah, great job. It was a really good turnout last week. All right, and so then the Greer Park Master Plan, they've really been doing a good job. I think we've been pretty impressed with them. They have a video that they developed that we looked at, and it might be posted, it might not, on the township website. We also have a public input meeting planned for the 21st. If anybody wants to join us, feel free to do so. We're looking for people to kind of help out manning the tables and that kind of stuff.
A little
We will follow social distancing and wear face masks and all of that. So it's planned for the 21st right now at the ballroom at Ellis Preserve.
Nice.
And Wade, the question about the video and the survey, that'll all drop out tomorrow?
Yes. Yes. So there should be a link to the survey. When is that going up, George? It was the 4th, I think you said?
Sure. So the survey itself, we were planning on putting it up right when the magazine hit. The magazine is supposed to hit this weekend. So I actually put the survey link up on the Greer Park Master Plan page on the website this afternoon, just so it would be there. And when the magazine lands, I'll send out a news post about it. But I can send the link to that webpage to everybody here.
Okay.
That'd be great. Yes.
George, is the video that's done by the ecologist? She's narrating it as they're going around the park. Is that it? Because I saw it several days ago.
Yeah, so I don't have that posted. This is just the link to the survey.
Oh, okay. Well, I watched the video 3 or 4 days ago. So somehow I got a hold of it. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the committee, the Greer Park Committee, was sent a link to that video.
Yeah, but we're not to share that link. That was only Jessie sent her own private YouTube.
Yes.
That was just for us to view, and that has to be put on the township's YouTube. We cannot share that with anyone. That's critical. That's somebody else's private YouTube account. So please don't. And the township will share that on theirs. And there is a flyer that will be, it's going to be approved, and we'll send that out through Kathy and through all the channels. And again, I'll share it off with everyone, and Leonard will as well. So again, please, when you see that, please comment and share it as many people as possible. In addition to that, Wade, we talked about, we're going to actually print out that flyer and we're looking for people on the Greer Park Committee as well as Parks and Rec that can help maybe take streets to make sure. It's important that the residents of the park area are heard, but it's also very important that other residents are heard. So we don't want it to be one-sided. We really make sure that all 13,000 people in the township have an opportunity to be heard. So if you can share that and make sure that survey is well distributed, that'd be really great.
Okay, so yeah, we're trying our best. I mean, it's difficult now with the COVID and trying to get publications out. So I'll try and hang some on telephone poles and that kind of stuff when the posters do come out. But there will be a link on the webpage, right, George, for the survey itself
Yes.
for anyone in the community. Okay.
And I'm gonna send that to you guys now.
Okay.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so I just also want to let everybody know that the township's funding is frozen. So anything that we might have been asking for is going to have to be in the 2021 budget. So whatever we discussed tonight or this year, we're going to have to go to the supervisors and ask for money next year.
And the timing is right to be doing that because we're working on the capital budget for next year. It's just a question of a lot of the things we had scheduled to do this year. It's all been frozen because of COVID.
Yeah.
All right, so I met with Bill Creighton, who's the director of Public Works. George got me in contact with him. I met him at the bocce ball court in Veterans Park, and the lead mechanic who did the work was there as well. It's a pretty complex system. There's a drainage system underneath. We would need the same thing because it drains the court, makes it dry real quick. The maintenance is minimal, but the cost is pretty significant. So it's like $2,400 for a full size bocce ball court just for the clay material itself. I'm trying to develop an itemized estimate that I can present to the board, and we'll see what we think, and then present that to the supervisors if we want to. So I'll have that hopefully next month, but it's going to be a little more expensive than I originally thought.
George, do you think you can build it if Wade can get the materials?
Yeah, I think we can.
Okay.
I mean, you would agree, Wade? I mean, they
Yes.
did it over Marple.
Yes, yeah. I think our guys are better than theirs. So yes.
Ah,
There you go. We
And-
have a jokester. Yeah, we have a jokester.
So, and for new business, we have a new person joining us, Sandy Cornelius from Lissitor. I think she's on. Are you still on, Sandy?
if she's on, she's muted though.
Okay.
And I think she needs to be the one to unmute herself.
Okay, I unmuted myself. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Hi, Sandy.
Yes.
Hi. Boy, this is going to be fun. What a group of competent people. It's great.
Yeah, I think there's like 5 or 7 of us that are normally at the meetings. And we've been together for quite a while, and we function very well together. So we're happy to have you, and we'd like to hear your Lissitor point of view for things, because we don't get that often. But welcome.
Be careful what you ask for.
Uh-oh.
And then, so also we had Habitat for Humanity has offered the services of
So,
their
excuse me, Wade, but that's called Healthy Habitats.
healthy. Oh, okay.
Their
I'm sorry.
proper name is Healthy Habitats. And these are 3 recovery houses that are here in Newtown Square. And these are young men who were trying to get over addiction. Actually, they are getting over, but it's their very first steps. And so there's 3 houses, and there's roughly 15 to 18 guys here in Newtown Square. And they came out nicely in strength. We got, for the Butterfly Garden on Sunday, we had 4 of them and myself and Cindy Mahalo. And so Cindy Mahalo directed us as to what was good and what was weed. And she helped pull everything out. And then we made these huge amounts of piles, George, that you all picked up on Monday. And so the butterfly garden has been weeded and attended to.
Very good.
Next up, we're gonna, as you drive out of Drexel Lodge Park, on the right-hand side, there's these huge azalea trees or azalea bushes, and there's a lot of vines, creeper vines that have grown into the azalea bushes. So another project and these guys are up for it, is to meet on a Saturday or Sunday and pull out the vines and get rid of the roots if we can do it, go around back. So that's another.
Where was that located?
That's in Drexel Lodge Park.
Okay.
It's on the exit road. As you leave, it's on the right-hand side. And these are very large bushes of azaleas that are all overgrown with creeper.
So if anyone else thinks of any projects, small projects similar to that, I guess send them on to Paul.
Yep.
Great job, Paul.
Here,
Thanks, Paul.
you.
Paul, I just want to let you know I have some vines over at my house too. Can you come over here?
I have to be municipal. We're looking for municipal vines, Peter.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mine are private vines.
And then we have Newtown Square in Bloom. Paul also has asked us to fill out a self-assessment survey. I don't know if anyone remembers last year there was the what was it, a contest or something, Paul, for American in Bloom?
You know, we belong to American Bloom since about 5-6 years, and we've always had 2 judges come out, and the judges in a day and a half or 2 days have gone around and they filled out the assessment, and then they mail it to us like around the end of September, and then we have to wade through it and figure out what we agree with, what we really want to tackle, some of the things we prefer to put off to future years, and some of the things we just disagree with entirely. So because we're in so much development here in Newtown Square, it was American Bloom has started offering digital membership. So instead of $1,000 a year that the township pays, it would be $300 a year, and it's sort of a do-it-yourself assessment. So we don't get any judges, and all we get is we fill out the assessment, and then we send it in. And I don't know if it takes pictures right from the beginning, or if somebody asks us for photographs. I'm not sure how that all works. And we'd like to send it in by the end of August so that they could sort of start scoring us and seeing what they say. And it's about 6 different topics. There's floral designs, there's urban forestry, there's landscaping, there's public landscaping, business landscaping, things like that. So there is a page called overall assessment, and that's the very last page. And that's how, if we were sort of kind of new to Newtown Square and just driving in for the first time, how does Newtown Square look? And it has a full page. I think it's just 1 page of questions. Is that right, Wade?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
You know, the EAC, what happened with the EAC is Bruce Killen just filled it out and sent it back to me. I mean, he didn't ask the group, he just did it. Okay. If you just want to do it that way too, if you want to ask Wade to do it and just to fill it out as best as he can, fine. If you want to do it as a group, I understand, and that's fine too, whatever.
How about if someone else wants to send one in? I can send one in, and if anyone else wants to send one in, is that okay? Or
Sure, that's fine.
okay.
What we're gonna do is I can blend the 2. I can blend yours and somebody else's, and then it goes to Newtown Square and Bloom, and then we reserve the right to override whatever is sent in. So we get to look at, you know, historic societies doing a piece, EAC's doing a piece, Newtown Square and Bloom's doing a piece, and then we're going to synthesize all of the grading that happened. And it's not, instead of being graded as poor, fair, good, excellent, it's being graded as never considered. We are considering, we're moving in that direction. we're achieving it and we have achieved it. So they offer a very nice matrix that we can
Yes.
follow. It's not totally cruel is what I'm trying to say.
I can do when I'm done, Woody.
Well, why don't you, Bill, maybe you want to just do the whole thing.
Why not?
Wait, there goes Paul. Paul's volunteering you, Bill.
Yeah,
Because what we need is somebody a little bit, that has fresh eyes, that isn't in it too knee deep and just says, this looks great and here we could do some improvement. And we are also a town in becoming, because of what Westchester Pike, and now when they go to move the trees a little bit in front of Mainline Health, they've discovered that our 100-year storm sewer has collapsed. And that's what all that construction is in front of Mainline Health. There's just an awful lot of construction going on, and we got to take that into, don't grade us too harshly while we're under construction.
Hey, Paul, we're gonna give you A pluses all down the line.
No, I don't expect that either.
Wait, now,
They're going to ask me to send in photos. So whatever we send in as a grade, however we fill in the grid, if they ask for photos to quote back it up or whatever it is, the photos have to kind of work with the grid, right?
Right.
Yep.
So anyway, thank you.
What did you say, Bill? I'm sorry.
I said, I'll help.
Okay. So I'll fill out a form and I'll send it to you, Paul. And if anyone else wants to do the same, just send it to Paul and then he can kind of score us together.
Perfect.
Wait,
Okay.
wait, I'll help as well.
Okay, great.
I will too, Wade.
There you go.
Count me in.
Okay, thank you very much.
Take me off if Peter's on it.
Hey, wait. Hey, Sheila. I'm a changed man.
So the next
If I
thing
can
is
help it anyway, I'm happy to.
great, thank you. The interactive web page. I was starting to take pictures at Gable Park and write some stuff up. Does anyone know anyone with a drone? And would the township be okay with that?
Yeah, actually, one of the Boy Scout leaders has been doing drone work, and I know they've been doing it for some of the magazines, so that might be somebody I could send your way, Wade.
Okay, thank you. And is Rich the person I should contact about how to develop this? I was just going to do like a PowerPoint presentation with links on that to some pictures.
Web page. Suzanne is really in charge of the web page.
Okay, I'll go through her.
Yeah, so I would start with her.
All right. And then the sliding board at Greer Park. So that's going to have to again wait till 2021. I don't know if you had an opportunity to look at the paint, George. I sent Steve some information as far as there's some paint you can put on that material, supposedly from 3M.
I haven't. I looked very, very quickly, Wade. I didn't read too deeply into it, but I'm interested in seeing the thought on that. And I would suspect you'd want to bring somebody in to do it. I don't think it's something we would be able to do. But
What's the cost of replacement?
Yeah.
The cost of replacement, I would venture to guess is like $1,200 or something like that, Bill.
Okay.
You know what? I don't know. I can try to find out the cost of replacement for the next meeting, since this is not going to happen until 2021.
Yeah.
Okay.
Paul, we actually had gotten an estimate back a few years ago when we were doing Brookside. I have to look up what that was, and then we could probably come up with a factor of how it would have increased.
Okay.
And then, so the basketball courts, we've all discussed basketball and how popular it is. And there seems to be more demand than we can satisfy. So I'm wondering if there is enough demand for two courts at Gable Park. I sent George a sketch a couple weeks ago. I just did like a Google map and then superimposed the court the other way, removed a couple parking lots. You could fit 2 courts in there if you wanted to, but again, that's another capital expenditure that would have to wait until next year. And then there's a paint. The paint is going to be done on the courts itself at Gable Park and Newbie, but George has not done that, and it's not going to be done until 2021. So there is an opportunity for us, if we wanted to possibly go to the art department at the senior high and ask them to help us design a court similar to what's on the screen right now. I just thought it might be a good idea to get us some publicity for the courts.
Do basketball players mind if it's all these different colors?
I don't know.
I think serious basketball players would.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to tell where the,
But this is it's purely recreational, what's being done now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, then,
Yeah, they're all pickup, I believe.
yeah, so it shouldn't be a problem. It would be a problem if it was a competitive league.
Does Rich run any leagues out of there, anything, George?
He does not with the basketball. With the other fields he does, but not with the basketball.
is there would there be a maintenance issue? Like when it's brand new, it would look nice, but then I can imagine it deteriorating over time and.
Yeah,
You know.
so the current Gable Field court was done back in, I want to say 14. So that paint job, we expected after 5 or 6 years, we were going to repaint it. And it's starting to look, I mean, you could still play on it, no problem. It was starting to look at, and Newbie had never been done, which was why we were going to do that this year.
Right.
You know, again, we had scheduled to do those paint jobs in March, and then COVID hit, and then after a few months, the budget reduction started and the freeze. But in a way, that's good because it could give this group an opportunity to really talk about, is this a good direction, or is there another color scheme we'd want to go with? You know, and then we just have the money ready to go, hopefully, for next year, and before the season even starts, we could get it done.
So that'll go on the parking lot as well. If I just thought it would be a good idea to get us some publicity through the high school and maybe get the kids involved in our community some more.
It's a good idea.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And then the water bottle filling station, I did some research on those, and they cost anywhere from like $1,000 to $3,000. I know that's probably not something that we even want to talk about right now with the COVID, but when we come out of this, our parks are going to be used more for exercise type of events.
What?
What's that, Bill?
Why is it so expensive? Don't you just have to have a faucet?
You could get a cheaper model. Yes, there are other models. But this is like the commercial
This is
grade.
the kind, Bill, like at the health club at Ellis Athletic Center, they have something where you stick the bottle underneath the water, and then it fills the water and it stops automatically. I think it does that, like
Yes.
it senses when it's full.
Yes.
Bill, you need the pressure to come through at a higher level for the water bottles to be filled. And it would be, from an environmental standpoint, better for us to provide water station versus, because we're trying to encourage people to use less plastic from an environmental side.
Right.
So, I mean, that's the goal of the EAC, is to look to not just recycle, but reduce. So if we could have a water station, it would kind of coincide with the EAC's mission of trying to help reduce plastic.
Very good.
Now, Drexel Lodge does currently have a water cooler. Would you envision it going near that, or would it be around the other side?
There's a couple of different versions. Some mount actually on the wall, so you could put it next to it. I'm not sure, how much room you have there, but the models I was looking at were like standalone in the ground type of.
So George, I like the idea of when you drive in that you would it would be affixed to the building perhaps, but it would be so you would see it as you drive in. So that it would be advertised. I mean, we would advertise, people would say, oh, they have a bicycle rack, a cool looking bicycle rack. They have a water station,
The closest to the bathroom would be the least expensive way, because that way you already have the water pipe in the bathroom
Right,
facility.
right. But there's a wall there that faces
Yeah.
the vehicles, right, as they come in.
Yeah. So
right?
just keep it to the back where the water source comes in, and that'll be less expensive for them to bring the line in.
Hey, folks, if you want to see one, go over to Suburban Seahawks Swim Club. They have two, one outside in the lobby and one in the pool area. And the kids just put their bottles under and it fills it straight up. You take it away and it stops.
Great.
And it's pure water. So you might want to contact Joanna Murphy is her name. She's the senior office person. Or just go over and see it, because I know they're open for lap swimming at this point.
Great.
All right, and then the bathrooms at Drexel Lodge Park, the township just painted them. I don't know if anyone drove past and looked at it, but they really did a great job. I think Lewis did it, really nice job. But it's just kind of bland, and I just think our parks need some kind of color, excitement, whatever. And I just thought maybe if we had Culbertson Elementary do some type of mural or words of inclusion that we could write on the wall itself, or even the Newtown Township insignia, just dress it up somewhat.
I like that idea.
I like that too.
Me too.
All right, so I'll reach out to Culbertson, someone from Culbertson, see if I can get that maybe for next year. It's not something we're going to do this year again, but. And then the bat boxes. So on the 21st, I was hoping to bring a bat box with us and ask Mike, his thought, if he could just give us an idea where we should put them in our community.
Yep.
Okay.
Wade, you can put one on my backyard because I'm right next to Greer Park.
Yes.
And that will help just as long as I don't get the COVID-19 from the bats.
There you go. We'll give you a mask, Sheila. How about that?
But bats are very good because they help the environment. They eat the mosquitoes, which will keep us from getting West Nile virus.
That's good. That's true. Very true.
Gnat. There's lots of gnats, at least where I live.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, then we have.
Do those bats eat the lantern bugs?
No.
Oh.
Nobody eats those. Yeah.
No, praying mantis eat them.
Oh.
I thought they ate the murder hornets.
They also eat the lantern bugs.
Okay.
No, they just eat. They eat our trees. All our trees are going to fall down.
And then we were doing stewardship with some of our parks, and so the trail. George had asked us to step up and try and take some stewardship of the park. So I don't know if anyone wants to sign up to be a steward for the trails.
So I mean, I was designated for Drexel Lodge Park.
Yes.
The nature trail sits in Drexel Lodge Park, so it makes sense that I would take the nature trail at Drexel Lodge Park.
Okay.
That makes sense. And Jonathan, I don't know if you feel like taking the Goshen Walking Trail or somebody else. I mean, what other trails do we have besides those two, George?
Well, we have the Bishop Hollow Trail that starts at Bishop Hollow Road in Ellis and runs up to Campus Boulevard.
Yep.
So who has?
I can do that one, guys.
Who has that? Who has that park? What's that park called? Gable Park?
Yeah, Gable.
That's me. So all right, I'll take that.
So
All right.
I think it should follow the person that has the park, right?
Right.
I've got
Yes.
Brookside, but there's no trail really there.
No.
No, but Brookside's big.
Okay. All right. So we'll just.
I'd be happy to help with the nature preserve.
Ooh, that'd be
Okay.
great.
Yeah,
Okay, great.
I have Newtown Meadow Preserve.
Yes,
Yeah.
That's,
But it's
that
huge.
one between Lissitor and Episcopal, that's what I'm talking about.
yes, that's our
Well-
Newtown Meadow Preserve.
Yes, and I can help. I can meet you there, and we can walk it or ride our bikes together up through there.
So what is it that we're proposing? I mean, the stewardship, is that like litter control, that kind of thing?
If you like, or just, check out the park, just have a different set of eyes on it. George and his guys see it every day, at least every week. And,
Yeah, we do, we see it every single day. I mean, we go to the parks and do disinfecting work every single day. And I should have mentioned that probably in the beginning of the meeting. I mean, every day we're out disinfecting, every day we're out doing trash and all those things, making sure we had installed hand sanitizer stations at every one of the parks, and we make sure that they're filled up, haven't been depleted, that there's no issues there. So having another set of eyes on it, because we see it so frequently, sometimes we could start walking past something that's a problem. So having a fresh set of eyes is key for us.
and any improvements as well, your capital improvements, minor, major, whatever it might be. Water runoff, damage, anything.
So just the last thought is, there's two trails that have tree identification labels. And that's the nature trail at Drexel Lodge and also the Goshen Walking Trail. And I think it would be nice, for Jonathan, you and I would take a hammer with us and maybe some extra little, if the labels are starting to come undone and they're hanging by one thing, we should straighten up the label.
Okay. That's at both of those locations?
Yeah, I don't think there's any other tree labels anywhere else yet.
And my
Okay.
wife and I walked Drexel Lodge last week, and there was a label messed up that she fixed.
Thank
So
you.
yes, that is something we could do.
Yeah, I think those are like Phillips head screws, aren't they?
So there's two different methods. The ones on the Goshen Walking Trail are just like little tiny tacks, and they're in a, it's a little black label, and it has two little holes in it, and there's two little tacks, and you tack them into the tree. I mean, unless it's,
Yep.
I think that's how that works. And the one at Drexel Lodge is more sophisticated, and that takes a Phillips screwdriver, and there's a spring behind it, and it's supposed to allow the tree to grow. And
Right, and we, remember, Paul, with that, you just do a gentle turn. You don't overscrew the screw for the identification.
correct.
So,
Correct. No,
just-
I understand, but in certain cases, I mean, I'm just saying to myself, I should have a Phillips screwdriver with me when I go to the nature,
Okay.
so that if anything has popped out or disappeared or fallen down, I could reinsert it.
Okay, I could take a look at the, go up and down the Goshen Trail and make sure that those are attached.
Great.
All right, and then
Speaking about the trees, and especially at Drexel Lodge and the labels there, I should have let you know, I think the EAC is going to be let know, there was a Boy Scout who wanted to do a project to combat the spotted lanternfly. So this past Saturday, the Boy Scouts went and I think did 50 trees where they put a band around the tree and put the sticky stuff on it that they get caught in. And then they put the kind of tree cage, like the plastic cage that goes around a tree to protect it, a young tree. So they used a similar piece to that over top so that the bugs would get stuck, but a bird wouldn't get stuck, if
Yes.
a bird
nice.
able to pull off. So
and they did already he presented that to the EAC back in January, so they
Yes,
already,
so
yes.
he was supposed to have done it in March, and then COVID happened, and he wasn't able to do his project. As soon as the parks reopened, he reached out and he did it last Saturday.
That was at
Right.
Drexel?
Nice.
That was at Drexel. The majority of the trees that he treated, well, the whole scout troop they treated were mostly along the nature trail, although they did do, maybe like 10 of them out in the park itself.
So George, if there's a kiosk, there are the 2 kiosks at both ends of the nature trail. Is it possible to get a little blurb with this person's name and a description of this so that people who go through the park know who to thank?
I think that's great. Yeah, I think we could do that.
Yeah, and the troop,
Yeah. And they did a great job. They were very careful. There were about, I would say maybe 25 scouts doing it. And they all took their temperature before they started. They socially distanced the whole time. They all wore masks, and even their group photo at the end, they staged it so that they were all 6 feet apart as they took it.
It's great.
So then, so the Greer Park Master Plan is going to address one of our biggest problems there, and that is access on the northern side. There is no access. A few of the people over the years have let kids walk through the yards to get to the park and get access there. But the master plan is going to suggest that we need some more formal access to the park. So if
Like an
anyone has
easement?
any ideas, what's that?
An
Jonathan?
easement?
Yes, something. Yeah, I'm not sure how it's going to be handled, but it's going to be mentioned referenced in the master plan. So if there's anything anyone can think of how we could get access to the park on the northern side, it would really help. Those people should have access.
This is.
I thought also if there was a house or situation, we would also entertain that, Wade. If there was maybe an old house back there, that was also a possibility. It would give an opportunity to expand the land back there as well.
Yes,
But it would have to be a decrepit house that we could afford.
yes, yes.
That's
So then,
actually yeah,
What's that? Go ahead.
go ahead. No, I think that Sheila's on the right track. I mean, the houses, I don't think it's going to be very easy to get somebody to give an easement to the park. I think you really do have to think about purchasing land in order to make
Yes.
that happen.
Yeah, the people that did allow access, it was temporary, and they were kind of selective. It was just kids. So,
Yeah, and it's liability too for them.
oh yeah,
We used to provide access to our neighbors to come back even through Beechwood, and we had to pull that because our insurance agent said that we were exposing ourselves to too much liability. So we had to no longer allow that for the neighbors.
So I think we'll just need to all keep an eye on the streets, right on that side. And if it goes up, let the township know.
On Cayley, Lewis, any of those, adjacent properties.
all right. And then there's also the MS4 requirements, which the township is, up against it with satisfying these requirements. So if anyone can think of any ideas, some people in the community have talked about planting trees, 1,000 trees next year, or that kind of stuff. And we would probably be asked, our committee, to get involved with that. So
can I?
Well, actually, wait, it's 1,000 trees, but 500 trees are defined by Cobb's Creek watershed and 500 trees are defined by Delaware Valley. So they're specific to the watershed. And also, it's very important that we kind of meet both criteria.
right.
Are the
Paul, what was that?
requirements anywhere to be, that you can view them?
So
The MS4 requirements?
before we get too far ahead, the MS4 has said to Newtown Township, you got to do something about your stormwater problems. And the township engineer, together with perhaps the township manager, they have come up with a reply. And this reply includes the idea of planting 1,000 trees. Now, this reply has not been accepted by the state of Pennsylvania yet, by the Commonwealth. So we kind of have to, we don't want to get ahead of our skis. We kind of have to let this play out. The engineer is saying that one of the ways that we're going to ameliorate the stormwater problems here in Newtown Township is to plant 1,000 trees in strategic places. Now, she's located, I think, 7 or more exact places. These are little riverlets. These are headwaters of streams where the water is running a little bit too freely, and either there's been storm bank erosion or stormwater problems, and already she's going to need, meaning the township engineer is going to need a block of this just for the problem areas where there's flooding beginning and then flooding. I'm thinking of Culbertson and behind Culbertson and all around there. So, you know, ideally, let's say it's 1,000 trees, and let's say the Commonwealth agrees to it. The township engineer will say, I need 350 or 500 trees for my problem areas. And I'm imagining this, I don't know. And then we could break down the rest of it into, so how many trees do we need for different parks? And then, you know, perhaps going into the neighborhoods, and then perhaps doing street trees in the business area right along Westchester Pike, on either side of Westchester Pike and Route 3. I do want to comment that if you take Winding Way right below the wall, the famous wall where Whole Foods and Hilton are, the Winding Way now is really, really a beautiful idea of what trees, how transformative trees are. And on either side of the street, the trees are starting to grow really nicely. And then they have trees in the middle as well. And this is only in Winding Way, but the whole thing is pretty dreamy and looks great. What else? There was one other thought. I do want to point out, for those of you that want to see what a really beautifully treed up area can look like, I invite you to go on Paoli Pike and Line Road, and it's in East Goshen Township. And it's right next to Applebrook Country Club. And then this is an East Goshen Township Park. It has a name, but I can't remember it. I've driven by it. But what they've planted is just a full canopy of trees. And there's wonderful walkways for the residents of East Goshen Township to walk under the trees. And even in this hot weather, it's very cool. It's 10 degrees cooler than if you walk in the full sun. And it's really kind of, it gives us a wonderful template to think about, that if we really wanted to plant a lot of trees, how it could look. And we could go look at this park on Paoli Pike and Line Road, it's called. Anyway, that's it for me.
All right, and then, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to ask again, but is there a spot where the MS4 requirement is listed just so you can read it?
Yeah, so thanks, Sonia. It is on the township website.
Okay.
I can send the direct link out to this group if that would be helpful.
Is it easy to
Thanks,
find,
George.
George, on the website?
I think it might be on the homepage, actually.
I found it.
Okay.
And guys, while we're talking about trees, I don't know if any of you saw the great news that EAC was able to present to the board, and they were so phenomenal. They did pass it last week, the resolution for the new shade tree commission and the new shade tree ordinance in the township, which is great news. So I invite everyone to check that out. It's a very positive step forward to a greener new town square.
Sheila, is it possible for you to send that? Can we see what this looks like, the shade?
Yeah,
Or is that on the township as well, on the
the
web?
final version will be handled through the township, and we'll wait, because I have an edited version, so I want to make sure the final accepted version is the one that gets shared. So
Yeah.
I will check with the Bruce to get the official one, and we can share that off. But it's really good news, and as I said, it's a way of turning the corner and trying to really, be stewards of the trees and the resources we have going forward. We can't correct the past. We can only go forward, and this is a new day for us.
Wonderful.
Good.
So the next thing was Gable Park. Bill had talked about on the Greer Park Committee, his interest in having some kind of educational place for someone to go and teach us adults flower arranging or winemaking or beer making, whatever, or kids. And one of the spots at Gable Park doesn't get utilized a lot. And So I looked up this reading chair thing, and this would be good for the library. Even if we just had some type of bigger chair, it doesn't have to be a reading chair, but configuration similar to what's on the screen here at Gable Park.
So you know what, Wade? What about what's in Drexel Lodge Park? And this was done by Parks by the Public Works group. And what they did is they just took fallen logs, fallen trees, and then they gave them little tiny pedestals, and that makes something for people to sit on. And you could, I mean, it's kind of like but it's a little bit not quite as refined as the top picture that you are showing. It's more a little bit rustic.
So those benches on the trail behind Drexel Lodge, that's how they were put in there?
Yep. I mean, some of them were built by Joe Barry. It's a mixture, and some of them were built by the Public Works Department. And the ones that are Public Works are really kind of cool because they've taken what came out of the forest and laid it on its side, and they just give it a utility. I mean, it's cool.
A few years back, this idea with the sails being used as shade was discussed for that outdoor terrace by the library. But I don't think that was ever followed through, or I don't know how far they got into it, but if we had sails like that even come down or just be put up when you want to, and a nice chair, that terrace can then become like this reading nook or, an outdoor seminar on gardening and so forth.
Would an awning be possible over the terrace?
Very expensive.
So, yeah, I don't, when it was first discussed, I don't think the township building additions had been done yet. I think they were about to start. But there were some challenges to it even back then. So I don't know if they've done anything to incorporate that, but you'd have to put poles up on the outside of the terrace so you can string the sails from the roof of the library to the outside. But the terrace is already there and it's beautiful. It's just in the sun all day. There's no shade on it whatsoever, so it can get very, very hot.
Sure.
And I think that cost a lot of money too, that terrace, didn't it, George?
Yes.
It did, although to Sonia's point, the timing is very good to be looking at the terrace because the way the bricks were installed back when the terrace was built, designed so that they could take them out and engrave them with people's names and put them back. The problem is now they've all started shifting because they know they don't have a solid base on them. So we've been talking about taking all the bricks out, taking all the memorial bricks and placing them on a solid foundation, and then doing something else with the rest of the pathway. So the timing would be great to look at doing something like sail over part of it, or a I'm trying to think what it's called. Like if you did like a structure that had
awning,
the beams, yeah, like an awning, or even I can't remember.
Oh, you're talking like a pergola.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
we're made of wood
So-
kind of thing.
If you have to remove some of those bricks, can we start a campaign of donations for additional, like engraving of bricks to help pay for some of that or offset some of those costs?
I think so, because we're going to have to take the majority of the bricks out to put a new foundation down anyway.
George, there are no names on the bricks now, correct?
There's names on, I would say maybe a third of the bricks. So we want to make sure that those are memorialized, but
Yeah.
probably we'll put them together.
So maybe Sonia's idea could work.
Yeah.
So I'm moving from my log idea to the terrace at the library. I forgot about that. And that's way underutilized. And I think that would give the library something to shout more about. I mean, it's easier for the library to have an event and then the event is there at the library, not like 100 steps away from it.
Right.
Yeah, so the library back, I want to say 3 or 4 years ago, put some raised gardens in. And the intention was they were going to be for vegetable gardens, and they were going to teach children about growing vegetables out there. And I think they got a grant to do it. The problem was it never really took off as a viable project, and they've overgrown, and they don't have all the volunteers that they used to care for them. So it looks like a mess out there. And I know they've been thinking about, is it wise to keep the beds that way out there, or should they look to do something different? So again, I think the timing is perfect to have the discussion.
Fine. And I think when I speak with Arlene Caruso, she's saying that Tyler Arboretum is somehow involved with this, that they have gardeners from Tyler Arboretum who are taking care of their raised beds. So you know what? I think it's good. I'm ready to talk about an awning or pergola or sailcloth or whatever it could. It's merciless out there in the high summer. It's just impossible to stand there. Good.
That's
All right,
great.
I'm going to drive past. I don't know if anyone else can take a look at that area. Great idea, Sonia. Thank you.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, and so the building, the library is still technically closed, but if anybody needs to stop in and see the patio, we can make an arrangement and I could open it up for you. So, one person at a time or something could come in and look at it.
Okay.
You can see that from the parking lot, can't you? I mean,
You can see it from the parking lot, but you can't see the brick and the raised bed. So just, email me if somebody needs to go in and look at it, and I could get access for it.
Hey, George, maybe if you get a chance in the morning, just go there and do a quick video, just a quick overview, and send it to everyone. That way no one has to bother you with trying to get in there. It's a lot safer, and it's a 2-minute video. You can send it all off to everyone, and it'll be done.
Yeah, I could do that.
Or if you want to call me, George, I'll come over and do it and send it out.
Oh, okay. Great.
Just call me. Okay.
Hey, that's another great idea for you, Sheila. That's 2.
Could somebody please mute him? I'm still waiting for your 1, Peter, but I won't say anything.
Well, I told Judith I was going to be quiet tonight. So.
I love Judith.
Plus
I love Judith.
We're being taped. Well, she loves you too.
So somehow I have a house guest that just walked in. I got to say goodbye.
Okay.
All right,
Thanks,
Paul.
Paul.
See you.
Sorry that I was
Good night,
late.
man.
And
See ya.
So the only other thing I had was an educational, maybe nature camp or something at one of the parks. I don't know if we could do it. I don't know if that's something you could look at, Bill.
Yeah, I've been sort of checking around a little bit. I happen to have some neighbors that are very involved in the Crow's Nest, and they do a lot of educational stuff up there, but they have a full-time education person on site in that park. So, it's a big effort.
Yeah, I think we would have to take baby steps and maybe just do like a 1, 2, 3 day event if we chose to do that.
Or even just have a structure of some sort that has some books and pamphlets and things in it that people can have access to.
Okay.
Can we maybe encourage for next spring, have access through, let's say at Greer Park or something, through the local schools, and just have it through, our kindergartens or our pre-K program, and just give them a chance through the schools to make it a field trip. It's a local trip to our parks, but we get a chance to engage the youth about, being stewards of our parks and of nature, and take them through the streams and show them the frogs and all the other things. And it would be a great way for us to still do that without a huge expense, but using our own, both public, private, and parochial schools in the area, and give them access to that.
Well, the Crow's Nest has a very strong program where the teachers bring whole classes of kids there for a nature day. And they walk along the trails, and they, look at the frogs, and they look at the plants and the trees and whatever. And it's very enthusiastically embraced by the usually elementary school teachers. So I think it's very possible.
Okay, and then the only other thing I had was the Gable Park. Does that have a cooking grill at it, George? And is it
Oh.
something?
Yeah, sorry, I meant to get back to you on that, Wade. So there is one grill at Gable Park.
Okay.
I actually last year purchased 2 new ones for Gable Park, and I never got around to asking the group where they thought the best place was for it. So I'm open to suggestions. I have 2 new ones I can install at any time. We just have to decide where is a wise place to have the 2 grills over there.
Okay. All right. Does anyone have anything?
Yeah, I just had a thought. You know, we were going to have our concert in May, I think it was, and I was going to do the Discmania thing. I was wondering if, since Drexel's open, I could take some, you know, white spray paint and paint out a course and put some, I have some tiki torches that are just the bamboo, and just to kind of map out the course and have that as an option for people to come through and bring their own frisbees and, you know, play it.
Is that something that you would consider, George, or?
Yeah, I mean, I would consider that. I'd have to just look at the PA Park and Rec guidelines, but I mean, it's a course you'd be setting up. It wouldn't be a group event that you know, that would be problematic or anything. I think that's doable.
Well, you know, I could meet you over there, George, and we could kind of step it out where I had the holes laid out before. Some were short and some were long, and maybe make a scorecard kind of thing where people could come and get the pencils and the scorecard and see the map and just, you know, play around.
Yeah, that's where it gets challenging, because you're not supposed to leave materials out. Even in this phase, like there was a whole discussion about the Greer Park survey. Even we can't leave piles of the survey out anywhere for people to take. The township building's not open yet, so I would just have to think how we would do the scorecard bit.
Yeah, or just maybe put a map, you know, like over at the Meadow Preserve, you have a map of the Meadow Preserve. Just put it behind plastic, you know, and people could say, oh, well, there's hole 1, and you do little arrows pointing to the next hole on the ground.
Yeah.
And I'd be happy to.
I want to make sure before, when we were setting up, it was for a one-time event. If we're leaving stuff there, I just want to make sure it's not going to affect the grass cutters or anything.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
But I'd say let's look, because it'd be great to offer something.
Yeah, because it's a fun thing to do, and you know, I do that around my own property, and my grandkids and my sons love it, and you know, we just have a lot of laughs doing it. But I avail myself to you.
Okay. Yeah, I'll let you know after we get out of the way of the weekend. We could stop over and look at it.
Absolutely, and I don't work on Fridays, Saturdays, or Sundays, so
okay.
Just as an option, yeah.
So you still need to know where to put the grills are, though?
Yeah, so at Gable Park, we've got 2 grills, and we can put them, we actually have 2 grills, a picnic bench, and a regular bench. And we were looking to see if we could create an area that we could put that. And we were kicking around putting it back by the playground set, kind of in that open area in between where the playground and the ball field are. And we decided we were going to go back to Park and Rec and ask where you thought it would be a good spot. I guess this was in February, and then everything went to pieces.
Right. How about across the street from the township building, you know, on Ellis, closest to Elgin?
Yeah.
Closer to Elgin?
We had kicked that around. The challenge over there is that we try not to make that a destination place. You know, there's a trail that goes through it, but we
Yep.
try not to make it a place that people would stay, partially because it's so wet. A lot of people bring their dogs over there. It would probably be good to be, you know, closer to where the restrooms would be. I mean, that's kind of where you would be,
Yeah.
you know, doing something. But again, I'm open to any suggestion. I mean, if they get a chance to stop over, if you want to, you know, even email me a thought as to, hey, I was looking here, I was looking there, I'd love to hear it.
If you are going to put them in Gable Park between that play area and if you can, where you're going to put the grill on the other side with the bench table, if you could put some maybe more trees over there, because it's awfully, when you're back beyond the play area, there's trees, but in front of that area is really kind of not a many trees, and it wouldn't be a very comfortable place to be sitting in the sun. So as long as you provide some shade for the table and then put the barbecue grill, but just make sure that you have a space. You know, a lot of the kids that come through the baseball field, you know, make sure it's not in a situation where some kids can be running around and would possibly get hurt from a hot grill if they're not minding it.
Correct. And the other thing is we are still going to be extending the trail to connect with the Bishop Hollow Trail. So the one that runs past where the restrooms are.
Okay.
So I need to just leave some room to finish that trail segment. And then that would back up where the things would potentially go.
All right. So I guess we're done.
Oh, I
anyone
had
have
two,
any?
wait, yeah, I do,
Go ahead.
wait, I had two issues. You know, guys, with the park, it's interesting. I noticed with Greer Park and a lot of the other parks, people are really getting a little bit out of control with letting the dogs being unleashed. And it would be helpful maybe if we can have more signs about that, because especially with COVID, I know a lot of people were taking advantage of it, but it seems like the dogs are being unleashed and people aren't respecting you and picking up their dog waste. So if we can maybe put out a reminder about that, because it's just not sanitary. And another issue I had was when we were at Drexel Lodge Park a couple weeks ago, this was when we were still in the Yellowstone phase, there was a group from Marple Newtown Soccer Association who weren't sanctioned, but the parents, and they were probably about 7-year-old kids, and the coaches were setting up practices and were playing a game. They actually came to the field that we were doing yoga for the Parks and the Rec one, and asked if they could use the other side of the field while yoga was going on. And I had asked him if by chance he had a permit, and he said no. And they went to the lower field, but I was a little concerned that a parent would choose to have a practice with kids of that nature at Drexel Lodge. So I just thought maybe if we can remind it's not anyone's responsibility for, you know, Drexel Lodge Park. It wasn't anyone of our people that gave permission to it. And I'm sure it wasn't the Marple Newtown Soccer Association, but it would just be helpful to remind people to not engage in organized sports at the fields just yet, because they're not allowed, but it was also not a safe way for the young children to be, you know, playing ball and being coached, which was really concerning to me.
2 more good ideas for you, Sheila. Very good.
Yeah. So
Very good.
sorry, please,
Seriously.
you go.
I was going to jump into another topic real quick, but if you're tagging on to something Sheila said, please go ahead.
Well, I'll just say that now that we're in the green phase, there are organized sports allowed again. So we are working through Rich Enow at Marple Newtown Recreation for who's allowed to get permits. Right now, it's only baseball over at Gable Field. It doesn't look like soccer or lacrosse are going to be doing anything formal for the time being. The other thing with the dog signage, so we have put all new dog signage up in the parks, and we've increased the amount of. It is a real problem that we have with people who let their dogs run loose. I'm constantly stopping people and telling them that not only is it against the law, but there are fines for not curbing your dog and letting your dog run. The problem is the police are the only ones that can do anything about it, and you have to call the police, and then they have to come out, and that's the only way to enforce it.
Can you videotape somebody and provide, that to the police?
I guess anybody could.
Well, the reason being is it just seems like people are disrespecting. If maybe if you post what the fines are and we start kind of cracking down on it a little bit, I know it sounds like it's in the grand scheme of crimes, it's not, a big thing, but it is a situation where it's not sanitary. Children walk around, adults walk in that. And especially it's disappointing when people don't curb their dog and pick up the way. So
it's been as long as I've been here, it's been a problem because at the end of the day, we have to go clean it all up.
Right. I just noticed that, I don't know if it's because more people are around with COVID-19, but I've noticed people are just, it seems more and more just ignoring the rules.
Yeah. And to me, the bigger concern is that it's unsafe. Because they'll let their dogs run around without any leash. Again, besides the fact it's not legal to do that, but I mean, there's children there.
Right.
And we are near water. I mean, Brookside Park, Greer Park, they're all near water sources. So that's another issue.
So yeah, I can find out about posting the actual fines, and I could add that maybe to the bottom of the signage.
Yeah, and then triple it, and that's why we'll have a Parks and Rec fund for next year.
They do that at that Okawalking Park in Edgemont. They have signs saying what the fines are, like $250 or whatever.
Make it 500, and that way we'll have a fund to put these things in that we want, the bocce and all that.
And we can have more concerts like Ben Arnold.
Peter,
I'm happy with the bocce ball and things for the community.
Peter, I wanted to mention for disc golf, there are scorecards apps that you can use. Maybe we could put a sign up saying, with your disc golf, download this app for keeping score.
Oh, that's a great idea.
I put a link in the, in the what do you call it? The share chat.
Okay. That's great. Thank you.
You're up.
I just had an idea about the access to Greer Park on the north side. We were talking about waiting until one of those houses goes up for sale that might be within a particular price range. But I don't necessarily think we need to wait for that. I mean, we can start knocking up on some of those doors and just saying, if you're considering selling, would you give us an opportunity to make an offer before you put it on the market? And you could even take it one step further and ask that if it's an older couple or a single person, that they will the house to us when they pass, so they can live there. And then they, if they have no other family or anybody else who's going to take it over at the time of their passing, it might just be another way
I could send a mailing out to them, because I'm an agent, so I have access to all this, like the list of homeowners, their addresses, contact information, and I could just fire off, select all the houses that border the park and send a postcard to them We could work on the language for the postcard, but I could do
Mhm.
that.
We could also buy a right to first refusal.
Yeah,
So maybe for something like $3,000 to $5,000, and somebody might want that,
Mhm.
so that we're first in line.
I think it's going to be a very, it's a very personal subject for the people who own those houses. So I think knocking up on their door and chit-chatting with them is going to be more effective.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's going to take a personal touch. I think it's going to take a very light touch, and it might be a conversation that you might need to have with these individuals several times before you might get a right of first refusal or somebody who's willing to will it or somebody, something of that nature.
Jonathan, as the agent, would you be able to put together the demographics of the people that live there?
Well, I think we'd have to look at, guys, and there's probably about 25 houses that connect in that area. So we can look at is who actually connects into the park, and we'd almost want to strategically look like it has to be in a part that's not in the wet bogland area. So we already kind of know what is.
I mean, we could build a path if the property were bordering it, but it goes through the wet, we could build a walkway.
Well, the Lewis side and the Cayley side. I also don't want to bring too much attention to it because I don't want it to be a situation where people are going to drive up the price. We have a limited capacity to look at a reasonable house that, let's say, might have not been able to receive the TLC that it used to receive, if you know what I mean. So we want to be sensitive to that and see if there's a person that would fit that situation.
Yeah. I have access to information like how long the people have owned the house. If it's somebody who's lived there since the 70s,
that would be great. Yeah, if you could get us that kind, and then we can look into it. But I do know that the township, if it was a particular property that would be valuable asset to the township, that would fulfill the requirements of the Northern Access, that would provide us with more opportunities for green space, I'm sure they would at least entertain it. So I think it's something, if we have an opportunity, all we have to do is, just start the wheel rolling, but there's no guarantees to anything.
The only thing is at wherever the house is, say, for example, we bought the property. All right, will we keep the house, and would we need parking around the access area? And then what would the neighbors think of that? I mean, you know what I mean?
I think it would be the least amount of touch as possible. I think it would be more so green space, and it would allow the park to be expanded. And I think that you obviously would have a parking situation, but I could not see, anything of a paved surface or anything like that, because that would be contradictory to what we're trying to do, which is reduce paved surfaces, have impervious services, spaces, allow Northern Access for the residents, have a spot to plant trees and encourage wildlife. So I don't think it would be like a developed property in any way other than promoting green space.
It almost sounds like, on behind Cubberson School. I don't know whether you're
Yes.
familiar with that or not. There's there's like a walkway that goes from the main street to the back of the school. And it's just, it's got houses on either side, and it's just a walkway that just heads to the playground. Right in the residential area.
So that actually brings another thought in my mind. If, let's say we were to buy a house, whether if it's in some kind of bog or wetland, it's going to drive the value of that house down, especially with our runoff situation that we have in this neighborhood. I happen to live in the neighborhood on the north side of Greer Park. So that could work to our advantage. And like Jonathan just said, we can build a bridge or some kind of structure to get over those bogs. But if we bought a house and developed a walkway into the northern part of the northern side of Greer Park, that doesn't mean we can't turn around and sell the rest of the house and land back into the market.
Oh.
So we just buy the house, assign like an easement
Flip it,
and
Right.
then, right.
and flip the house.
So you can't ask somebody who currently owns the house to allow it, but then if
Right.
we bought it, did the legal work on it and then sold a smaller piece of property.
A smaller,
Would it
yeah.
be an easement or would it be actually like a flag, like a
I
strip
would
of
be in favor
land?
of just owning it, just owning the strip of land, so it's never in dispute in the future about
Yeah.
that piece of land. And, not all of those houses would be conducive to that, but some of them, might be. And so I think we have to keep everything in play and then look at the different pieces of property. And I think it has to be more of we definitely have to look at everyone who owns the land, owns a piece of land around that northern access, and then start to analyze it, what might work where, and then approach the different property owners with those kind of different options. Your property here might be really good if you want to sell it to us, and we'll take 20 feet and then, we might resell it. They may not want to resell it. They might want to have it dedicated to the township or to some other cause. So I think we just have to keep everything in play, but it's probably going to have to be modified depending on where the house falls on the northern side.
There are opportunities also, guys. I mean, if there is a property that has like a double lot or an extended lot, because I did ask one particular individual already if she would provide us with an easement. And she felt that she was already giving the opportunity to a lot of neighbors, but then she didn't want to look into an easement issue because it would devalue her property. But because she had a smaller property, but if there were a property, and I can identify one or two of them that I can think of that come along that trail and connect inward, it might be something, they might consider selling us or giving us just the easement issue. And like you said, listen, if we can have anyone that we think might fit that profile, let Wade know, and we can run it through with Greer Park, because I know it's definitely something it's very important to Greer Park that they have a northern access, because it's helpful to the residents. It promotes so many good things, and it's definitely an important part of it.
I agree with you, Sheila. I mean, having grown up here, it was, depending on what the mood was for the particular person's, the particular house, sometimes I could get to the pond and play in the park, and sometimes I couldn't. Sometimes I had to go all the way around to 52 and back down Winding Way. And depending on how old I was, either I could do it by myself or I had to have somebody with me. It was always a problem growing up, because it was, did you catch that neighbor on a good day and you can walk through their yard to get to the park?
Yeah. And also too, remember, we shouldn't be dependent upon the courtesy of neighbors, because that's not for every resident in that area, and they all should be respected. So just because you have a friend that lives at one house doesn't mean, that they're going to provide that same courtesy to every other resident in that area. So we need a permanent solution, not just a temporary, thing. So hopefully, if anyone knows anything, we'll jump on that. And I think that's a great opportunity.
So
But we
you
gotta
know,
be
I
careful
think
that we
I'll
don't drive
send,
up the price.
so I think I'll send an email to Steve Neese explaining, what we just discussed, just to have him fill us in on his thoughts at the next meeting.
Perfect.
I think that's
Okay.
great.
Okay. So I think we're done.
Hey, thanks for your leadership, Wade.
Thank you, Peter.
Giving us marching orders.
Well, I did
Fourth,
calm
everyone.
my.
See you.
Hey, you too, Sheila.
I'll be leaving.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bless y'all. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Wade. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Good to see you, Sonia.
Nice to see everybody. Bye. Have a nice 4th, everyone.
You too. Bye-bye. I'll see you, George. Thank you.
Thanks, Wade.